Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back, grannies and gators, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is Friday, September 27th, and as always, we've got our resident financial whisperer, Mr. Bryce Wade, joining us in just a second. But I wanted to plant a little bit of seed and get a little bit of a feedback from everybody. I've got something here you guys might find a little bit interesting. Let's see if I can get this to focus in the camera. But I'm going to bring Bryce on here now, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the madman world and a little bit of about gold and silver and precious metals. Welcome back, Bryce.
Well, thanks for having me back, man. It's a pleasure to be here as always. And whoop, boy, do we have a week.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. So just to kind of mess around here a little bit and give people a chance to get settled in. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. And maybe by the time you get halfway through, maybe you'll even hit a like button and share. But for the rest of you guys out there, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up, hit that little heart, help us get this out to the broader audience. So, Bryce, what do you think of this as a safe bet novelty? If I'm going to get into finding something unique for our community, I'll try and hold this up here again so people can at least get a better look at it, or you might see it there.
A little closer.
A little closer, a little closer.
Yeah, I can pretty much
so
see it.
What this is a novelty coin, and y'all can read fairly well what it says on it. Maybe I'm a little too close. It's 0.999 pure silver. It's 1 gram. It says end tyranny, F. Leaf Trudeau, mandate freedom. And this is prepared with a company called AMX. And I've got the opportunity, if everybody's interested in out here in bringing these out to the greater audience. There's going to be 2 versions. There's going to be the coin fold, just leaving it as a coin. And then I'm also going to turn some of them into little charm bracelet doohickeys, or you could probably wear it on a necklace anyways. But a gram of silver down the road might be exactly what you need, right?
Yeah, maybe. And so to answer your question, is that valuable? If it's silver and it has the weight on it, then yes.
There you go, folks.
It's literally that simple. Silver is silver. As long as it's
so this is not a currency, a tender currency, like a part of the fiat currency. This is you're not going to be buying these. You're going to be like $15. You're paying for the novelty factor here. Obviously, they're 50, a gram of silver is not worth $15, at least not yet. But you never know, right? It might be just a thing you need for a lunch or something down the road. But something that I found a supplier here, and I thought that maybe some of the community might be interested in that. So the best way to let me know, and I'll get the details for everybody, is through email. Send me an email. Doesn't have to be huge. Just say, I want one. Send me an email at contact@whatsupcanada.org. I might not see everybody's comments here, but I was kind of holding back on these a couple of days, just because I couldn't think of a better night to do it than having you on my show, Bryce. So it cost you a little bit of talking time, but something fun for our community that I thought would be kind of unique between our communities. So yeah,
Yeah, that's what
inspired
it
by
is.
you.
Hey, man. Well, whatever I can do to help the community, right?
Right, there you go. So
On that
where
note,
are we going to start? Start with some market stuff.
yeah. So bring up my screen for a second. So I want to direct your attention to really something important. What's that number say? 2,700. Now, if you'll remember, last week it hits 2,600 for the last week. So we've gone up $100 peak in a week for gold. That is a lot. So I know probably don't need to reiterate how significant that is, but that is significant. So
Oh,
so
I
we're
mean, on a month,
basically
that's $400 on a month at that rate, right? So that's even $100, people might go, but over a course of four weeks, that's probably what a lot of people bought their gold at, just what it's going up.
that's 3% this week, 3.5% this week. It's gone up, which is a lot. And so we're basically about $150 away from it going up $1,000 in under a year. That's a lot, like a lot. Like, and this is a good barometer to understanding how volatile the markets are. And one of the reasons for this, what day was this? That was the 24th, which was 3 days ago. So on Wednesday, which is when this happened. What do you think that was?
Uh, you got me at the moment.
Putin threatened to nuke
What
the
was mine?
West, and he's changed his.
What's that?
Putin threatened to nuke the West. Basically said we're
Oh,
changing our. He basically
okay.
said we're changing our nuclear doctrine, and they essentially
Yep.
said if you guys do this, and we essentially decide that this was attacking Russia from a secondary place, not just Ukraine, we're going to nuke you too. So he's basically told the West now, hey, idiots, we're at war
Well, there,
now. And if you continue to do this, I'm not just going to nuke the people attacking us. I'm going to nuke everybody that's supporting them. So, like,
there's a lot of significance to that. When Zelensky is coming up here to play cuddle buddies with Trudeau again and Macron too, and what they're doing. This to elaborate on that just a little bit. The SMO, which was what Russia was looking at this as, which is basically special military operation, is now on deck for full out war, and anybody that helps Ukraine do the stupidity is immediately at risk. So this is Zelensky's victory plan that he's been touring around trying to pitch and sell to everybody, is basically kicking off the war with all of the NATO countries and everybody else. It doesn't matter that Putin could sink uh, the entire island of the UK like it's a carrier. This is just the epitome of stupid, and this is why you're talking about. When Putin says he's considering World War III, if we keep up with the stupidity, markets are bounce.
yeah. And the
It's that
other,
crazy.
yeah, exactly. And I want to put into perspective how unbelievably stupid and ridiculous our prime minister is. We have the Russian military that's at war with essentially the West. They're already on full war footing. They've already militarized their economy, and so they're producing at full war speed. So their factories that produce ammunition are round the clock, like round the clock, right? So they're already preparing for that. The West is still sleeping, right? But
Well, we talked about that the week that Putin announced it, and that was directly after. So when it went into Ukraine, he went basically almost all the way to Kiev, and then pulled back. And at that point, when he pulled back and declared it a special military operation, was when he put all of the Russian infrastructure and economy on 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365 day production war footing. That was the go.
yeah, it was a while
So that
ago.
was the first 6
and
months.
and
Yep.
and there's a couple important factors to think about. So typically when you're at war readiness, so we're talking like DEFCON 4 or 5 or whatever. Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks, Batman. Yeah. Doing great. Yeah. So there's been a bunch of people that have reached out and are starting to prepare for this inevitable insanity that's coming down the pipeline. But one of the things you got to understand about war, right, is that it's a percentage of the economy. It's a percentage of your capital, because when you have a war is a come as you are game. It's a logistics game, but it's whatever you got is what you got. It's not like we're like, hey, give me a loan on the future production I have. No. Do you have this? Because you don't get you're not able to fire bullets that you have a loan for in the future. You have a bullet or you don't, and you fire that bullet if you do, and you don't if you don't. Right? It's very simple. In war, it's very much like a cage match. You only got what you got in the ring. That's all you got, right? And the war still hasn't escalated to a full kinetic for a variety of reasons. But one of the important ones is that we're just not ready, and the amount of people that we have going into the military is negative right now, because everybody in the West is like, why would I give my life for you bunch of morons that are like, doing dumb shit to me and my family, and you're run by woke idiots that don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like, why would I give my life to that, right? The opposite side of that is the Russians, that are essentially one homogenous, more or less a homogenous society, that are like, hey, we're all Russian, we're getting attacked by the West. So very easy for them to be like, hey, look at all this stuff that's blowing up across our country. You should go to war about that. Sounds good, boss, is what some of them will say, right? And they just last week, because I can't remember if I mentioned this last week, they just raised another 180,000 troops like that. And they have the potential for another couple million people to be in the ranks. That's essentially all of their young adult male population that's ready, willing, and able to fight. So the West really hasn't tapped that. But the point that I'm making is that they are preparing for full war with NATO. Is NATO preparing for its population for a full war with Russia, Iran, China, the axis of evil, and all the other nonsense? No, this is all under wraps. They're not talking about it. And the important point for us Canadians here is our military is 70,000 people, if that, and it's ancient equipment that's falling apart, and we can't train anybody, and they're not, and it's an absolute absurdity. And why I'm bringing it up today is that just today, NATO said, hey, Canadians, get ready to deploy. We're go to the front line. Are you kidding me, bro?
Yeah.
Like, we imported, and I just looked at this today because I saw something on Twitter about it. We now have about 7% of our population that's foreign, that came here in some way, shape, or form. That has skyrocketed 3.5% since 2020. So if we say that we were roughly about 39 million people or whatever, 3.5% is math. 10% would be 3, so 1.5 million people roughly that have gone that we've imported. And that's orders of magnitude more than our military.
We also have to all stop and think for a second and realize, wait a minute, they've just admitted to more than 1 million a year. So those numbers, there's a whole lot of lying in the woodpile and gaslighting in that. There is no way that I believe those population numbers in that differential. The hard numbers of how many people have been coming to Canada and staying here is already more than 3%, more like 10%, higher than 10% even. But that's only 3 million.
This is my point, right? So that's what was publicly released. But if you do the math, we used to have 36 million people. I remember growing up, we had 36 million people. But then all of a sudden, now we have 38, and now we have 39 and 40, and like we passed 42 or something within a year. So we're talking like 4 million people, which makes that orders of magnitude worse, right? And so the reason that I harp on about all of this sort of stuff that I think is important is because of the math. The math doesn't lie to you. There's a hard number of things that are happening you can say and put on a trajectory of, is this going up and better or down and worse? And if you plot literally any of these numbers on a graph and you pull up anything, and we could probably make it look terrible, because it is, right? And so what I'm trying to show to everybody with the trajectory of gold and silver is that time's running out. Like, they are preparing for a full war on this planet. We have nukes aimed at ourselves. Somebody is going to get nuked at some point. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that a nuke is going to drop at some point. I don't know if anybody saw the ammo depot outside Moscow that got blown up. It looked like a nuke. There's 30,000 tons of ammunition that got blown up by a drone. It was actually a cruise missile, but still, like, this is not going down. It's escalating, not de-escalating. And kind of my ultimate point here is I just want to show everybody is silver is no, not silver. Commodity? Is that futures? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so it hit 32 again this week, almost 33. And this is, so I've been kind of waiting for this. So this is same day. So this is the same day as when Putin spoke. And this is, I think, going to go a lot higher because it's only going to escalate from here. We've got the election. We've got the election. We've got massive economic problems. We've got the war escalating. We've got food problems. And I could go on, and I typically do if you've watched me enough. But all of these problems. So think about any of those problems, even one of them, any of them. Is that problem going to get better or worse in the coming months to years? Probably worse, because there's no off ramp for any of this stuff, right? And we've been kind of coddled into calmness by our illustrious leaders that just want us to be shut up and consume, basically. Well, if we're wise to the game as much as we think we are, well, we have to prepare for what is essentially a war on all of us. Is kind of my ultimate point.
Well, when it comes to the the insanity of it, I was reading here this week where people are starting to predict or actually expect the we've talked about it here before where silver wasn't going up at a rate it should either, that is going to change real soon, that it's expected to start making some really big jumps coming up in the next little bit.
Yeah. And like, I'm a big proponent of getting into the game and being part of it. Like, I joined the Conservative Party. I know lots of people have like, yeah, screw them, and I didn't vote for them in 2021 because Aaron O'Toole was a moron that was pushing liberal light policies and stuff. But I get it, and I get it, and I had it. And like, I voted for the PPC when that happened because I'm like, I'm not voting for these idiots. Oh yeah.
Well,
David,
we have to fight with every tool at our disposal, right? That's the point of this. We've gotten into such a swamp disaster. You're probably actually right, Marianne.
Sure.
And I'm grateful for it. So yeah. And this one from Ian. I can't argue with you, Ian.
No, it's true.
And yeah, like you were saying, and it's not just our military that's been neutered for the greater portion of it. So is the U.S. military, and even the portions of them that haven't been neutered or woke, or compromised through biological experimentation, have got their hands way more than full in a whole lot of different places. Like, I can't believe how stupid these meat muppets are to continue trying to provoke. It's like I said on a post the other day, Justin Trudeau is the chihuahua of the U.S. rump state, barking and pissing on the dog on the leg of a Russian bear dog. Whoops, looks like a minor technical difficulty. I'm sure Bryce will be right back. I kind of beat myself up this week, guys, and run out of immunity, and it's catching up to me, and I think I got myself a little bit of a burr in my throat, so excuse me. You made it back.
Yeah, sorry, my window died. So what I was about to show, but I actually got something funny to share, actually, because I've been joking about this all week. And so I finally hit a, what do you call it, milestone in my online career. I got my first death threat.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
And so this guy messaged me on Facebook, because you can find me on Facebook. So if anybody wants to talk to me, you feel free to just reach out to me on Facebook. It's my face and my name. And he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey man, you've been talking some smack on Twitter. Like, what if I just showed up and set you straight, basically?" And I'm just not the type of person to be like, "Oh my god, I'm so scared, bro. Oh, I'm so apologize." No. Well, let's go, bro. Let's talk it out. So I talked to this guy for like 2 hours at 11 o'clock at night until like 1 a.m, and like went back and forth. We actually agreed on quite a bit of stuff, and we just disagreed on some major stuff because he was kind of a lefty to be honest. Although I was like, how do you support these leftist lunatics and still hate all of the corruption and all the other stuff? And like, it's crazy, man.
Yeah,
but it was funny.
it's like this cult has been got the programming. They're triggered. They're put on go mode. Like, I mean, how many different people are they looking for that are trying to take out Trump? And what's the bounty up to? And it's like an open season on conservatives right now.
Yeah, it
So
is.
it really is, and these people are just that deranged and demented. It's like the Purge or Hunger
It is.
Games is literally what it's turning into.
What?
But Carly, I have to address this because it's too funny. I thought about it, and I couldn't really call him a rat because true, even a rat isn't brave enough to go and piss on a Russian bear dog, but it's like Python says, these little chihuahuas are, they think they're pit bulls and they absolutely will. So
In other
that's,
words.
the reference. So I just had to take advantage of the slapstick comedic opportunity.
Hey, you got to be able to laugh at this stuff, otherwise you cry and get really angry. And so there's a time and a place for me to be angry. But I try to laugh at it as much as possible. But I think there's an important lesson to be learned there is that you have to understand that and actually I have a perfect theme for this that I'll bring up while I'm talking about this. But you have to understand that these people are deranged. They're not connected to reality anymore. They've got these insane ideas, and and the effect that these people are having on our society are vastly negative, like in a couple of really important ways. So our children are being brainwashed with unbelievable stupidity, like Common Core and Soji and all the other dumb nonsense they're teaching these days. We have the economy that's falling apart. All of the technology that we've built up over generations, if we don't have people to run it, it dies, right? We have people that are not able to have healthcare anymore because of all of the immigration issues that we're facing. Like, I could go on and very much do of all of these
I do
problems.
5 days a week, 7 p.m.
Exactly. So, and this is my point, right? So this is my ultimate point. So we could talk infinitely about these problems, but what it comes back to is very simple: is that there's people that are on this planet that are trying to enslave and kill people that are not on their stupid team, right? Everybody in this chat, myself included, we're not on the cool kid crew, right? So what that means for everybody is that we have to be preparing for what is essentially a genocide. It sucks to kind of put it in that terms, but that's what it is. These people are trying to destroy our way of life, trying to destroy our country, trying to destroy our dollar and our assets and steal them from them and own nothing. Be all this dumb shit all these idiots say, right? So the ultimate question is, what are we going to do about it? That's the only question that ultimately matters. Protect yourself, protect your food, protect your family, protect your community, and get ready for tough times. Like, that's why I talk about gold and silver as one of the avenues to do that. But I definitely also say, get food, make sure you have enough for your family, get into your community, make sure you have people that you trust, make a plan, all of this different stuff. Like, the biggest thing that you can do is, besides being aware of these problems to begin with, the other biggest thing that you can do is start preparing for it in reality, in your community, wherever you live. It does not matter where you live, because this is coming for everybody. And one of the things that pisses me off most about politicians in general, but especially the ones on the left, is they have this deranged idea that the only people in society shouldn't have weapons, which the only people that shouldn't have weapons are law-abiding citizens, the people that you're supposed to be protecting, and the people that do have guns, criminals, because they don't give a shit about the law, and the government that have been turned on citizens throughout history. They're the people that should have the ability to kill other people. Like, what are we talking about, man? And because of this, because of C-21, it's much harder to get firearms now. Fine, whatever. But if you don't have a way to defend yourself, you are at mercy, right? So I bought a sword. That's my close in combat range, because I do arnis, which is Filipino fighting sticks, but it works for swords as well. Because if somebody's coming to my door and I don't have any way to defend myself, my girlfriend, my cats, me, I'm at the mercy of somebody with mean and malicious intent. Ain't happening, bro. I'm not going to be a slave or vulnerable to anybody. I don't give a shit about none of that shit, bro. And so what I implore everybody to do is just start preparing, whatever that preparation means to you. Do that with all haste and all intent, because like I keep saying, we're running out of time.
When it comes to what I typically talk about on this program, and I mean, most of that is preaching to the choir to this community here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I started identifying this as genocide, in the incident of Brexit. I knew what was coming. It was part of the script. I had read the script. I knew it was coming. I could tell. I mean, when Trudeau won his election, that was the first trigger. But people weren't ready to identify the early onset signs of what happens to create a genocide. It doesn't just happen in a it doesn't don't just push a button. So we've been escalating towards this, the whole boiling pot frog scenario, but we're at a point here now where I think we're starting to see some collective unity in Canada, because they're realizing that, as we stare down the barrel of C-293 and
Yeah,
C-63,
exactly.
thank
Gets really sad.
God there's been a lot of discussion, and this has really lit up the public square, because, when we saw what happened with the trucker convoy, hundreds of thousands of people took part against one issue, one bill, and it was a problem. That was a good fight. But that entire fight was on the equivalent of kindergarten play school for what they intend to do to Canada through Bill C-293 and Bill C-63. These things really, really terrify me, because that is the point. I mean, the mandates and stuff like that, we joked an awful lot about putting, us in the gulag for opposing it. No, this is now legitimately going to be law, where they will put us in the gulag for any arbitrary thing that they want, and we will be eating crickets and grubs, no ifs, ands, buts, or about it, the very instant they are done plundering from you guys. Because how this is going to work, they're going to pass those bills, and while they're waiting for royal ascension, they are going to grant themselves billions and billions and billions of dollars to establish the bureaucracy, hire all of the people, establish all of the agencies, the law enforcement. This is where they're arming environmental officers. This is what's on deck right here, right now. And for people like Bryce and myself and others in this space, and sorry if you didn't realize that you were running this risk when you started sitting on this show with me,
Oh, I
but
very much knew.
any person that anonymously reports Bryce or myself is going to get paid $20,000. They're going to slap a $50,000 fine on either or both of us, and we will not have the ability to argue, or we'll have to go through the human rights tribunals. And to this day, did you know in Canada, Bryce, that not a single case has ever been won in the human rights tribunals here in Canada?
It's a
Not one.
it's a Marxist way to control lawfare, and because they're modeling what's happening in Canada off of how it works in communist China. That's why Trudeau was a communist, and that's why he admires China so much. Is that, wow, you guys have so much control. If I did that over here, I'd have so much control. Wow, it's like, it's unbelievable, man. And which kind of goes into my point here. So if you bring this up, this is why I argue and speak in the way I do now, because I've had enough listening to moronic communists lie through their teeth and just silence and crickets answers their moronic nonsense, right? So I'm just going to read this out. So Marxists just lie. They lie so overtly and blatantly that people begin to question their own perceptions. It works because no one expects another person to lie so overtly. They don't believe in shared truth. They use words as weapons. Until you learn to keep this in mind during every interaction, you will continue to get played. They rely on you implicitly assuming that they have good intentions and are aiming at shared truth. And so dialogue can be productive. That's a deception. For Marxists, dialogue is not a way of retaining truth. It is a forum for manipulation. And every time I argue with somebody about some of this dumb nonsense on Twitter, this is so abundantly and blatantly clear, because they just lie. It's like Jagmeet Singh, as an example, I tore up the agreement. Literally a week later, which was this week for everybody that didn't know, we had a non-confidence vote in Parliament. And this is actually my response. Before this happened, this is the day before that I said this. In a non-confidence vote tomorrow, it will determine whether Selot Singh actually tore up his agreement or if he's still writing it out for his pension. The Separatist Bloc has said that they would support the government so they can extract more concessions from the Liberals at the cost of the rest of the country suffering Trudeau's incompetence. The Liberals are lying and misrepresenting Canadians, saying Canadians want help more than Canadians want help, not another election. All MPs should ask their ridings if they won an election or not, and this is kind of why I'm bringing this up. And if there's more than 50% of ridings due, an election should be triggered. Waiting for this moron to call an election so they can ram through C-63 and C-293 is unacceptable when this confidence vote inevitably fails. And kind of what I'm getting at with this point is that we need an upgrade to our system. It's just an absolute absurdity that the citizens of the country that we're supposed to be represented by, and the people that are now representing us can't remove the people that are not representing us anymore. This is unbelievable stupidity and obsolete.
Apparently you didn't get the memo, Bryce, from our illustrious foreign affairs minister. Canadians don't want an election. They want us to be governed. We want the to be governed by the liberals. We don't want an election. What are you talking about? It's just like, we don't want to know who the 11 traitors are or the other 327. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I say that all the time too. We had 11 MPs that are apparently working with China that sat in that vote and voted that way. And the I can't remember the chick's name. It was like, oh, we're not going to release names. You're not going to release the names of the people that are actively engaged in treason against Canada and Canadians. So are you part of that? Like, because that's a cover up of treason. Like, what are we talking about here?
And this is exactly why. And it's because of exactly what you have right here in front of us. The whole treason thing, why they cannot address it, will not address it, is because if we applied the lens of that treason, not only to the 11, but to all of the people that put Bill C-63 and C-293 into the Senate, every elected representative that took part in Parliament before these bills got to even made it to the Senate, if every single one of them had the same lens applied to them of the 11 and their accusations, we would have a defunct government.
Yeah.
It would cease to exist.
Exactly. And this is my ultimate point. If the system's broken, it either has to be upgraded completely or removed. And the people that are enacting these garbage policies that are against Canadians have committed treason. And I don't mind saying that anymore. Like, I used to be kind of scared about saying that. But at the end of the day, my death threat is kind of one of the points that I was making. Everybody that's not on the cool kid crew is slated for one of two things: slavery or execution. So you really have nothing to lose anymore. if you accept that.
Carbon reduction or slave labor in the carbon reduction service.
Yeah.
So what are your options? An awful lot like 1944 Germany to me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's only going to get worse. There's a great quote or a great meme that I saw that's like, hey man, just want to let you know it's going to get worse.
I know, and it's painful. This last, I don't even know how long, I meet with so many people, and it's not that I don't have hope, but what bothers me is so many people wasting their time on hopeless endeavors.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where, the division and everybody that thinks that they've got a solution that actually has nothing but a red herring or a windmill to tip. And all of the pissing and moaning and he said, she said, finger pointing, allegations, garbage, gobbledygook nonsense. It's everywhere. And, if we had the ability and the capacity to put our things to, our emotional enraged triggers to a pointed expenditure of effort, and why wait till 40 below to go to Ottawa and demand an end to these bills, because things are going to get so hard. That's what you're going to do anyways, so why force yourself to suffer? You should do it now. May as well do it now, because you're going to have far more opportunity at getting fruit for your labor doing it now than you will in 40 below, because or in February, or by the time these things pass through the Senate, the time to move on that this kind of stuff is now. And it's not that I'm telling anybody to do any of this, but the point, the moral of the story is, if we don't find one damn thing to agree upon, to act upon, we all end up in the same carbon reduction program.
Yeah.
No maybes.
Exactly. And I think this is why like C63 specifically is such like it should be such a no-brainer for everybody. SaveFreeSpeech.ca. Just check it out and actually go look at some of the legislation. Like reading through legislation is just mind-numbing nonsense. But essentially he's made a really good summary of the specific points and why they're stupid. And the only way that democracy functions is if we have the freedom to speak what we say. And there's that idiot NDP fool that's trying to like criminalize denial of like the what the hell's the name of those stupid places? I can't think of the word. Those schools. What are they?
The residential schools.
Residential schools. Yeah. So just even denying something, like what? I can't deny something. Even like I can't be wrong. Being
Our
wrong
government
is
can't
illegal.
prove that it actually happened. They've
exactly.
Whitewashed the history of it. They've lied all about it right from ground zero. They have implied that we are, the current citizens of Canada are somewhere at fault for this. And now, because they can't prove their statements, allegations, and the abuse that they have foisted on so many people, the extortion of our society based on a lie, their solution is threaten us to go to jail if we should ask questions. So yeah, just par for the course, complete Gestapo, Marxist, fascist, whatever tyrannical dictatorship terminology you want to use, because they're all behaving exactly the same. Bill C-63 is their wet freaking dream.
Yeah, and it's essentially the exact same thing that they push forward in the UK and why people are getting arrested for social media posts right now, right? And so the parallels, and I've shared this before, I'm sure. Where is it? No, maybe I didn't put it in this one. Well, whatever. I've shared an image before that kind of goes over a whole bunch of different attacks on free speech happening all over the world, right? And now it's Canada. Like people, like I've talked about this for years, and people are like, "Oh, it'll never happen here. That's not happening. We'll have people that stop it." And actually, I sadly have to share this story. I had a chat with my mom. So, like, I talk like this to everybody equally. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your color is. I don't care what your gender is. I say the same thing that I believe to everybody equally. I don't care who you are. This is what I see, and I expect the same from everybody that I talk to. You tell me exactly what you think. I'll tell you exactly what I think, and we'll talk about it. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. But we'll have the discussion about it, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle, right? So I had this talk with my mom, and she literally told me, "I don't want to know. I don't care. I don't believe what you're talking about. That's it." And so I have to basically write off my own mom because she won't listen to anything, won't look into anything. I love my mom to death. But what that showed me is that she's dead. She didn't even want to have food in her house. She didn't want to look at anything that's threatening her life. Like she's 60 something, right? And like there's no way that you're going to be fighting people like me in the grocery store for food. Like you're going to lose. There's no way you're going to win. Like you're insane if you think you're going to win, right? And so you have to prepare now before shit gets too crazy, right? And there's only so much to go around. You gotta remember that a lot of what our economy is based on is scarcity, right? So the price goes up if something is less available. Well, if that ever happens to food, you lose, right? Yeah. And so that's why I harp on and on and on about food, because it's the most central and important thing that you can do besides energy and shelter, right? And so I know that there's a huge number of people that are just going to be off in space, don't care, don't know, don't look, and they'll do nothing. But that doesn't mean that everybody else that does know, does care, will do something, shouldn't do anything. If you are of the opinion that this is wrong and this is bad and I need to do something about it, you have to take action at some point. So kind of, I'll just end off on this. There's a lot of areas for this battle. This is a war. There's lots of battlefields in a war. You don't have to fight all of them. You just have to fight at least one of them. So pick somewhere where your skills, whatever you know, can be of value to whatever goals that you think are important, and do whatever that you think that is. In a community with other people, find the community, find the people, build the system. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter at this point what you do as long as you do something. Because if you do nothing, nothing will happen.
I'm sorry, but I have to address this, Annecy. I'm sorry. Just because you're native doesn't mean that you're automatically right. I know the people that have actually proven that the Kelowna story is a lie. They actually got testimony from the people that had the ground penetrating radar, and everybody involved in that story. It is a lie. Well, that's why they are covering it up, because they forced everybody to believe that the Catholic Church and everybody was absolutely guilty and handed out tens and tens of billions of dollars. And now they can't, now they're caught in the lie. So I'm sorry. I grew up in the middle of 9 reserves. I know all the legends. I know all the stories. I've spent more than a decade exposing the lie of all of that. Why? Because I spent my whole life getting the shit beat out of me for being a white colonial settler. No other reason than that. So I'm sorry. This is the wrong place to to find that. I can introduce you to the people that made that the lie, that made that the problem of the government. Well, this is why now they are coming down on this again. So I'm sorry that so many of Canadians and the entire world, for that matter, has been fed this lie, this gaslighting, in order to keep us divided. That's all it was. They want the natives to continuously hate us and scream victimhood, and that was the reason for it. It's color revolution. That's exactly what they call it.
It's a Marxist
and they
strategy.
did it to us because they found a lie that people would support. Yes, I'm talking about Kamloops.
Yeah, and it's a Marxist strategy, divide and conquer. It's the oldest strategy in the book, right? And one of the things. Sorry, go ahead.
I hate even having to have this conversation, but again, it's such a lie that this is what it creates. Is people that are supposed to be finding something to fight about, something real. C-293 puts us all in the same damn grave, but yet they have us fighting over a lie. Sorry,
exactly.
It really hurts my heart.
It does, and where was it? Donald Schwartz at 741 made a good point. One race, human race, one true humanity. Right? We're all of the same species. We all have nukes aimed at our face. Right? We all are going to suffer the same problems if our institutions and structures and systems break down. That's not going to spare anybody. The only people it's going to spare is that the people that are on the cool kid crew.
Yep.
That's it. That's the only people. Right.
And so Carter would say the big club, and we ain't in it.
Exactly.
Annecy, there's a fellow on X called Jim McMurdy. Find him. He is a teacher there in Kamloops. He will tell you everything that he's discovered and why they are persecuting him for telling the truth. So
and a big reason for that is they want to take the land from us, our nation, and give it to the UN. And this is the strategy that they're doing. That's part that they're using, part of UN DRIP. But the point of that is to get the population, the native populations of the other native populations, i.e. us, is to be award each other while another foreign group of people come in. Now, we might be the same race, but sorry, I don't need the third world here in Canada that have all the third world problems that they're bringing with them. We don't need any of that. If you're not coming here to be a part of Canadian society, because that's what it is, you don't need to be here.
This is what we're seeing here right now. Indians are fighting for the Indians. Islam's fighting for Islam.
Yeah, exactly. Who's fighting for Canada?
Yeah, and we're sitting here going, wait a minute, we're trying to fight for everybody, and everybody's worried about their own fight, which is actually, not saying it's a bad fight, but guys, we got to get together on something, and with this particular one. It would be so easy to prove if it were in fact true, but here's the problem that they didn't think out right from the beginning. Typically, it's very difficult to find more than 6 inches of dirt in Kamloops because it's all bedrock. You can't bury bodies in bedrock. And as far as for unmarked graves, show me one tribe that used markers or gravestones or tombstones anywhere.
Yeah, right? That's a very European thing to do.
Exactly. So, there's so much to this that, and they prey, they're predatory on our emotions. And this is something I was talking about earlier, and somebody called me said bullshit on it. But what I'm seeing out here in the entire digital space is it's either rage recruiting or hate recruiting.
Yeah.
And if you're not on one side or the other, then you will be treated as public enemy number one.
Yeah.
Right. So this has become, you hate what I hate, or we will destroy you. Or, if you're not mad at what I'm mad at, then you're the enemy. And I see this even with so-called freedom organizations, because if I try to help them and give them the right language, if they're putting on this is real. Just one example, I won't give any names, but a headlining event, and they used language that was 100% inaccurate, and I tried to address that to them, and help them out, and I get just told, well, opinions are like assholes, everybody's got one, and now I am the enemy, right? And the founders of this organization are, if somebody even brings my name up, he literally uses the term consorting with the enemy. This is the people that are supposed to be fighting for freedom. These are the people that pocket 25 grand when they hold an event for people and call it freedom. This is the absurdity of the rage baiting and the rage recruiting and the hate recruiting. And if you don't hate what I hate, then you are garbage, human garbage. And everybody's disposable now. And this really pisses me off.
Yeah, and so yeah, I agree. And so how do we as a community, let's say the people that we are a part of here are the people that care about freedom, truth, honesty, justice, all the good shit in life, right? How do we as a community safeguard against that, right? And so I like to explain this to everybody, that this is a simple framework that you can use to determine if you can work with somebody else for long term, right? This works for specifically romantic relationships, but professional and important relationships in general. So there's 4 stages and 4 aspects to all relationships, and it's universal. Okay, so number 1 is communication, right? You cannot build anything, literally any type of relationship at all, without communication. You have to be able to say, this is what I believe, you talk about what you believe. We have to be able to communicate and understand each other. So communication is the bedrock of all relationships, right? Mm-hmm. Number 2 is chemistry. That's how you are together, how you deal with things together, how much you like each other, how much you laugh together. All of the things that are how your relationship operates with the other person, that's pretty much chemistry, okay? That's a big part of most relationships, because you have to be able to have a good experience with somebody to work with them generally. The third aspect is compatibility. So that's essentially, where are we going together? How are we going to get there? What do you want? Do I want the same things? Are we aligned? Are we not aligned? Why aren't we aligned? What are we going to do if we're not? Or how are we going to deal with it if we are? What is the goal and how are we going to get there is essentially what compatibility is. And then ultimately, you have trust, right? You can't work with somebody long-term if you don't trust them to some degree, right? And this structure applies to all relationships, specifically romantic ones, but it applies to agencies and companies as well. Because you can't have a functioning organization if you can't communicate with them, you don't have a good chemistry together, you don't have an alignment of goals, and you don't trust your own people in your organization, right?
And number 5, you cannot have a news and media outlet without having trust.
Yeah, and there's lots of people that are losing that right now.
Yep, absolutely. And this is why I pay a price for it, because I don't pick sides just because it's that side. I love this Nana Sue as well, but I'm recruiting for truth. I don't want to be forced to pick a side. I just want to know the damn truth so I can decide. I want to know the whole truth so I can decide. Totally. I don't want people berating me or badgering me. I just want to know the truth. Let me decide. But this is the challenge, that it's so difficult to find anywhere. And when I started this 5.5 years ago, there wasn't much for choices outside of what the legacy media lies are all about. So I've come to realize that there's it's a very small group of individuals that I work with, and it's not that I have anything against anybody else. I generally don't care what they're doing with their media platforms, because I understand that if they are not building trust for the future, well, they are only going to be a flash in the pan. It doesn't matter how many likes and shares and fucking numbers, and it doesn't matter. They are unsustainable. So this is why, for me, like it or not, it's not about friends. It's not about anything but loving the people hard enough to put up with all of that, just so I can get to some damn truth and share it with the people. So, I don't have a horse in anybody else's game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so I'll ask this to everybody, okay? Because I've asked this question to thousands of people at this point by now, because I've asked it for a long time in my life, probably about 20 years. What is the most important thing to you? One word. all of the things that you care about, all of the things you know about, all of the things that you believe, that one word that is more important than any other. And post in the chat for whatever you think.
I have to find it because this is my latest favorite quote. Geez, I had it this afternoon.
What's your word, Wayne?
My word?
Yeah, what's your one word? I see a lot of family, authenticity, trust, faith, integrity, honesty, truth, respect, honesty, children, truth.
Commitment.
Commitment? What do you mean by that? Commitment to what?
I'm committed to a higher power. It doesn't matter what happens to me on this planet.
Awesome. So, my word is truth. So, other than the people in this chat, I've only heard that word used like twice, myself included. And I've asked literally thousands of people, because here's the reality. Most people, probably 90+% of people that I've ever asked that, and like I said, there's been a couple thousand people at this point, almost everybody says family to some degree or for some reason. In some respect, it's most people care the most about their family.
Mm-hmm.
But because the world is the way it is, that forces people to be like, I need to protect my family no matter what. And we have lost, for better, definitely for worse, the central theme that connects everybody. We all used to know that we all had a family that we cared about, and we had to protect our family to some degree, and we had to protect against other people's desire to protect their family, right? And our system works in a way that all of us can't win, because the civilization, the system that our civilization runs on is not set up for that. It's designed for people to fail. It's designed to break. It's designed to ensure that I get more power and you lose. It's not win-win, right? And the reason that this word is so important is because it's what gets you up out of the bed every day to go and do and desire and defend and do all of the things that you do every day. Whatever that word is your fuel for your fire. And so think about whatever that word is and what it means to you. What am I doing today to move that word forward, to protect that word, to get more of that word, to ensure that the world that I live in is more of that thing that I care the most about? And most people do very little for that. I'm not saying everybody does. But if you don't
have
know
a soft life. We only do as much as we have to for the most part.
Totally. And the only way that you can defend that word and yourself and your family from the things that are coming is collaboration. So when people say to you, diversity is a strength, all the dumb nonsense these idiots say, the only thing that really defends you and that word and your family from all of the bad things in the world is community and collaboration, because you cannot live in a world that is just you. So it's not just about you and your word. It's about whatever that word is in the group that you live in. We live in nation states. So what do you think the word is for Trudeau? It's definitely not truth, and it's certainly not family. Whatever that word is, it's not good for us, because all of the results of whatever he believes in is bad for all of us, right? And so when you're talking to people and you're trying to discern, can I work with this person? You have to understand, what is the most important thing to them? Are we aligned enough that we can work together? And do they understand enough about what's happening in the world that, like, hey, we recognize together that this is a problem, we have to do something about it, right? So what I'm trying to illustrate here is that you have to have a process for quickly determining, can I work with this person or not? And if I can, what are we going to do together? So that could be your family, that could be somebody on your street corner, that could be somebody in your community, that could be somebody on the other side of the planet, for all intents and purposes. All that matters is, what am I able to do with this person, and what are we going to do together?
So this quote on the screen here right now is half of the reason why I gave the word commitment. This quote has been in my brain an awful lot lately. Those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must, like men, undergo the fatigue of supporting or defending it. And that's
True.
That's a lifelong commitment is what that statement says, and that's something that's really been lacking from from our society. And then
Totally.
the other one that really helps me, so that's 50% of the equation as to why I gave you the word commitment. The
Mhm.
other one was hope. And there's a huge difference between hope and hopeless, but they have one common attribute. Either is a choice. You can be hopeful or you can feel hopeless. Whichever one you choose will determine how much fruit you pick that day. So we can live in hope and hopefulness, or we can live in hopelessness. And hopelessness is what the liberals have spent trillions of dollars to try and make us do. So between hope and commitment, I get up every single day, even when I've only slept a couple hours in a few days and I've got a cold and I'm sick, and I let Bryce beat my brain up.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Oh no, I mean, this is what we do, searching for truth, and whatever uncomfortable rocks that they live under sometimes. For me, I talk to an endless number of people, and like you said, I'm not, I'm happy to help and carry on my way if it's something that I can help with, but I don't consider that working with them, and I'm very selective about who I commit to work with. That's grown over the discernment and the understanding of what those things are required for me to live up to my higher self, which is every single day. Can I live up to that commitment to hope? And that
Mhm.
is my driver. So because I don't have those kids, I don't have those family, so my commitment is to humanity, and
Yeah.
that's my path to where I within my within my brain of how I get to where I need it to go and help to, ease the suffering if there's any possibility to, or bring people together, or to help people find their own hope
Yeah.
and commitment, or the thing that they can commit to. And I'm hoping, over the last couple of weeks, seeing the amount of effort and work and community that's coming together to fight these bills C-63 and C-293. I'm encouraged by this right now, even though it's as dark when you look at the system or down the hallways of the system. I'm still encouraged by what I see happening. I think that we've got an opportunity here over the next little while, because it's not just Canada. It's the whole world that is standing up and finding some stuff to agree upon to end the insanity. So I'm really encouraged by that. We had a uh, you may have missed this. We had a special announcement yesterday. What's up, Canada? In this community, you got a chance to meet Jim last
Yeah,
week.
Jim Ferguson, good guy.
Yes, you did. That he
Smart
from
guy.
there, he came here. We got a chance to meet yesterday. And What's Up Canada is now officially an ambassador for Canada for the International Freedom Train Movement, and we're working on some big stuff. Got a 24-hour marathon conference that'll be running internationally with some of the biggest, most trusted platforms and names that people know around the world. So this is just the beginning. We are reinventing life, recreating the habitat for humanity, let's just say, at least right now in the digital space. So everybody here is a part of this, and that's all because we come to the table with a little bit of hope for something, and maybe a skill set or two. As soon as we can figure out ways to plug in the skill sets, the better off we all are. And right now, these bills, C-293 and C-63, are something that's plug into some groups that are fighting against them. Do that. You will feel better. There is much that can be done, and I mean much. I think we've got Lisa coming on probably next Tuesday to expose a whole bunch more again, Lawyer Lisa. So yeah, that's kind of my positive last thoughts of the day. You're on the spot now, buddy.
Sure.
Final
Well,
shot thoughts for tonight.
yeah, I'll leave it with this because I don't say this often, but and here, let me actually pull this up because I think it's important. Where is this? I'll just pull this up really quick. So this one. So I've shared this before, but let me just do this. This is still positive, even though it doesn't sound like that at the beginning. So I've shared this before. So
Yep.
let me just go over this. So this is the ultimate goal, right? Like I said, slavery or execution. So one of those two things. And if you do survive the war that's coming, this is what they have lined up for us. Obviously, you know that I'm against all this stupid nonsense, right? And being somebody of ethical standing that has a moral compass, somebody that cares about other people, somebody that cares about your fellow man and woman, somebody that cares about truth and honesty and all these good things that we think are positive parts of society. This part in the middle here, you only have two choices, and it costs the vigilance of the populace and the blood of patriots to protect. If you believe this sort of stuff, if you agree with me on this, you have to be on the front lines because the line is coming to all of us. And what I mean by this is that it's going to take sacrifice. These are going to be tough times, right? And I don't tell a lot of people this very often, but I had a vasectomy years ago, but 10 years ago. And my stepmom was the only person that actually cried for me because she's like, I can't believe you're not, having kids, because I made the decision not to have kids like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, actually. And I was really young when I decided that because I knew that at some point that this war was coming. And so I sacrificed my ability to have kids so I could ensure that all of the kids in the rest of the world and the people that have kids could have a better life, because I know that this is going to be a very destructive thing that's going to happen to our species, because there's no way for us to stop this unless it's collectively stopped, because the system itself is now our enemy. And the only way that we can change that is either build a superior system and have everybody upgrade to it, or remove the people that are destroying our systems and rebuild it. That's it. There's only two choices. Otherwise, we're slaves. So I'll leave you with this. If you do nothing, nothing will happen. And I know that there are people in here that see this, that want to do something. You can. I am standing here and I'm with Wayne because I've had enough. I made this decision 4 years ago when COVID started. That I've had enough. I'm done being quiet. I'm done being a slave. I'm done being silent. I'm done taking this bullshit anymore. And I started speaking out. And I am a testament that you can do that too. You don't have to be as public as I am. All you have to do is say, that's bullshit. No more, no further. And I will stop whatever that is. Pick something, anything, and fight against it. And fight for what's better. All of the people in here that said, I believe in this one word, all of you have the capacity and the ability to fight this war and win. I'll leave it at that.
I now I have to share another little part. And yes, by the way, folks, those are tools. Those words down there, those are tools. Use them, burn them up, attach them to everything, every organization, every group that is doing something to fight back, or stand up. And there'll be links on things that you can do in the show notes or in the Substack tomorrow. But before I launched What's Up Canada, Bryce, I was listening to a lot of people, and I heard so much. Well, I can't do anything. I've got kids, and that was one of the big motivating factors for me to say, okay, well, if not me, then who? If I can do this and have an impact so that they don't have to pay the price for it, that was one of the things that set me free enough to go and start forward on this myself, this journey, because I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew it was going to be brutal. I knew when I moved from behind the scenes to in front of the camera and attached my name to it, that it was going to get savage. It was going to get ugly, and things were going to get real bad. And it's all, been right on track, right on cue every step of the way. So this is why we end up in places like this. People of like minds that are willing to do what it takes to say the things that needs to be said, and move forth. But that kind of ties me. The last comment I want to bring up here, and I wanted to touch on this one. Leonard, great question. What is the goal of that endeavor, the plan? And I'm assuming you're referring to the 24-hour conference. Picture this. All of our government, cabal, deep state, picture them all as the aliens in Independence Day. And how did we the little people, beat the aliens on Independence Day? We rallied the whole world, all the oddballs and the misfits and the drunks and the lunatics and the solo fly-by-their-seaters, and they beat the aliens and saved the world. Well, I have done enough work internationally to know and understand there is nothing that the cabal or deep state fears more than the whole world's population being on the same page. So that is something that we can take a big step towards in a 24-hour organized event with some of the biggest podcasters on the planet. So that's the mindset and thinking behind that. And why? Because some of these kinds of things are happening in all of our countries. So yeah, so that's it for me tonight. I have used up my voice and then some this week. Bryce, thank you so much again for making it an interesting and completely unpredictable event. I don't think we've missed too much. The links to get a hold of Bryce, make an appointment, whatever you need to do, ask him a question, find him on X, whatever the case might be. I did drop the Miro link in there for folks. You guys can have access to all of Bryce's goodies. And yeah, I guess we will see you again next Friday.
Stay free, everybody.
All right. Where's my video? Oh, there we go.
In times of global instability, soaring inflation and massive debt, gold and silver have proven to be unshakable pillars of wealth. New World Precious Metals, based in Calgary, Canada, is a leading international brokerage. We offer an easy, secure and cost-effective platform for investing in gold and silver, including our international wholesale program and registered retirement savings accounts. Protect your money outside traditional banking with our physical precious metals, privately vaulted outside the banking system, at secure, insured exchanges worldwide. Gold and silver have been trusted assets for generations, with current projections indicating high returns. And with unprecedented demand from governments, banks, and investors, there are now shortages. Precious metals thrive during inflation, geopolitical instability, and currency devaluation. Sound familiar? Now is the time to invest in gold and silver, whether in your international investment account or by transferring registered retirement savings accounts. Experience the security of physical precious metals, combining the safety of physical assets with the flexibility of being like your own bank, offering instant liquidity and a financed line of credit. With precious metals on the rise, don't miss this generational opportunity to protect your wealth. At New World Precious Metals, we ensure your wealth meets its potential. Contact us today and our personal brokers will guide you every step of the way.